Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the laser cut demo and assignment. This little portion is part of this anyway, is gonna go at the front of this demo video today, and then of course your assignment video afterwards. So first things first, before you do the demo, let's introduce what we're doing. We're making laser cut airplane templates, just like you see here, and if you get them done in time with some haste, then you're gonna be able to print yours up and hopefully it'll work for you. If you follow my directions, it should be able to work, but I've been wrong before. So, a laser cut airplane, what exactly is it? Well, it's two pieces of material joined together to create this semi-three-dimensional shape. It's not semi, it is three-dimensional, but you get the idea. It doesn't look exactly like the real thing would look. I chose airplanes because they're nice and simple to start out with. Airplanes are a fun thing for me, so of course, because you're in my class, you get punished with the things that I find interesting. It involves two simple pieces fit together in a way that creates a three-dimensional model. And it's a great gateway to some of the new things we're going to be doing. We're going to be learning a little bit about mortise and tenon joints, creating slots, and finger joints is what we learned last time making our boxes. So this is just the logical step forward. It's also a basic way to start before we get to our next project, which is going to complexify all of what we've been talking about in the box project and that we'll be talking about in this project. So, what can you make with something like this? Well, airplanes for starters. If you're into it, you can make submarines. You can make all sorts of things. This is when you start getting a lot more complex with all your slots, but this isn't even as far as you can go. You can get really crazy into this whole thing. You can make lots of toys, lots of great stuff. Really interesting things, and of course you're working on your skills the whole time while doing it. This takes some imagination, a little bit of creativity, and definitely some detail work. So let's get into the demo today. Today we're gonna, well, first let me talk to you about some of the slots that we've made already. So before we get into the demo, here's what you're gonna come out with. It's not gonna be this model of aircraft, this is the F-16. This is just some simple joinery right here. Straight pieces, nothing special about it, measured to 2.5 millimeters in height right here and width right here. This is the piece that'll go perpendicular to this one. So you got nice and simple joints like this. You can get a little more complex later on, and you can start adding these little mortise and tenon joints right here that pop up with these little bumps. Depending on the material you're going to use, it's going to make things a lot easier when you put it together to stay together. I add these little bumps mainly if it's for wood. They got to be little tiny bumps so the wood can still slide through. This wing can still slide through this piece. With cardboard, you definitely want something. With wood, you can probably get away if you have tight enough tolerances, and again, that's your space right here. And the tolerance here is the width of the material I'm using is 2.5 millimeters dictates how wide these slots are going to be. So if your slots are too wide, it's going to be floppy, and if your slots are too small, then it's not going to fit inside there. So again, depending on the material you use, you might choose a couple different things, and then you start getting more complex as you go and making cooler and cooler things. So today we're going to be working on the submarine Spitfire. This is what you're going to get in class today, and it's a nice and simple aircraft, and here's the beginning of the demo right now. So first things first, I've gone ahead and I've gotten my schematic offline, or in your case, you've downloaded it from Canvas. And then you've gone in here, you've placed it, you've locked the first layer. I actually resized this, made it a little bit bigger. And I opened up layer 2, and I'm ready to begin. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to outline the sides and the top. This one's here just for reference. We're not going to use it, but if you wanted to pick specific material to somewhat mimic the size of it, you could using this. This gives a good indication of scale for these two right here as well. Everything, speaking of scale, everything should be scaled up to about the right size, and we can check after we do our side model and our front model. Alright, let's begin. So I'm going to start with the side of the model right here. I'm going to zoom in. It's a little blurry, but I don't need it to be really clear. I'm going to grab my pen tool, and I'm going to make the color something nice and visible for you all. We'll go with this light blue, maybe a little too light. Let's go right there. Perfect. Now I'm going to start at the front. The bummer about doing the side of the aircraft is you have to do the top and the bottom because they're the same, but when you get to the wings, what's nice about that is you can just do one side, and then I prefer to copy the other side, but we'll get to that here in a second. Skip that little piece on the canopy, make that right there. I'm going to skip the antenna on the back for the sake of the demo, and I'm just going to pen tool right around this guy, You see why I made you do the pen tool boss battle? We'll be doing lots and lots of pen tooling in this class. Alright, making the back tail here. I'm creating some big leaps. Right about there, that'll do. A little bit of a dip right there. And then bring this piece down to here. And we'll just keep going right across the front. That's nice and flat right there. Get that iconic front nose section. Come back, link it all up, and there we go. If I want, I can go ahead and I can add some cut lines for the canopy. Again, these cut lines aren't going to get anywhere near the edge, so they'll just be sort of decorative cut lines. They'll be cuts without any real purpose. And again, just like on some of our other projects, the cuts can't be touching or the pieces will fall through. I'm going to make one cut right here on the tail surface just to give it a little bit of definition. And there we go. So that's what my little cut lines look like right there. Actually really butchered the canopy here, so I'm going to try to fix it. It's my first time doing the Spitfire. Thought I'd pick this for you guys. I'm going to take this piece, that's where the canopy slides back, but we don't really need to know that. Perfect, it's an earlier model Spitfire. Alright, so again we've got the side of it, now we need to do the wings, and we can start sizing things together. So for the wings, I'm going to pick a middle spot, see if I can find one right here. This looks like it's about right in the middle of the aircraft. And I'm going to click there, and you're going to see why I'm going to do that here in a second. So the wings are tricky because even if you do them with your pen tool, they might still be a little incorrect. It's hard to get the pen tool exactly on the right line. And when we start getting more detailed, we got to start thinking about these sorts of considerations. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to make this line. That's a little far, but that'll be okay. And I'm going to join it just like that. So what we got is half the wing. Again, if you want to put some detail on this, you can. We can't do any engraving. This is a demo, so it doesn't really matter. Go ahead and just show me that you get the basic idea. So there's our first wing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a copy of that. And I'm going to go up to Object, Transform, Reflect. And I'm going to reflect horizontal, so my wing goes like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here. I'm going to bring both of these together. And you see, because I made it a little long, and a little past middle, they overlap, but that's great. That's exactly what I want. Because what's going to happen, and I'll bring this out here to show you, is we'll grab these. We're going to make sure they're straight on with each other. So again, I grabbed them both. I aligned them horizontally. And again, that's on this way. So there's like an imaginary line in the middle of it. Make sure to line up. Anyway, now that they overlap, we can go ahead and select them both, and then we can go to Unite and make them one wing. What I like to do, well, you know what, I can go to Unite and I can show you. I'm just going to make a line here with my line tool. I'm going to select both of them and I'm going to make sure it's vertically aligned, so that's my center point. And I'm going to take this line here while holding down Shift, and I'm just going to bring this back. In case I accidentally leave it, I want to make sure it's in the middle. So let's go ahead, let's make sure. Whoop. Wrong selection. Alright, there we go. So everything's aligned in the middle. I'm going to group those just for now. So there's my wings. Time to do my elevator surface here in the back. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find a spot in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my pen tool to make this wing. And I'm going to make some back section. Cut in. Looks like it's about right. Alright, so same thing as last time. Grab this piece. I'm actually just going to make a copy of it in case I end up screwing something up. And then I'm going to go make a copy of this one. Object, Transform, Reflect on a horizontal plane once again. I can take these two pieces here. Let's see how close they are. Okay, so these two aren't overlapping. So what we're going to have to do is we'll just take this one. I want to mess up my, you know what? I don't want to mess up my line. So I'm just going to go ahead and put another shape in. Go select them all. Pathfinder, Unite. I'm going to take these little points down here, and I'm just going to delete these little fellas. Not all of them. And then any points that aren't connected, I can go ahead and just come in, group up, like so. Alright, so in a short amount of time, I have created my wings, and I guess I don't need these ones anymore. And I've created my aircraft side. That's the easy part. Now we got to get with the slotting. So I'm going to bring my schematic back quickly, and I'm going to have to kind of guesstimate where the wings are at. So if I look at the side of my body here, I'm going to take my rectangle tool, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a slot for the wings, the vertical surface back here. Alright, and I'd place it somewhere around there. Now, the important thing is I'm not just going to make any size slot. What I'm going to be working with is material that is 2.5 millimeters in height, or in this case, in thickness, right? So we're talking about three-dimensional stuff. So I want this space here to be no more than 2.5 millimeters. And here's an interesting point as well. When the laser cuts through, it cuts through the middle of your line. And it's a really hot heat source against cardboard, which means it's going to melt just a little bit of space around it. So if our thing is 2.5 millimeters, we want to make it just slightly smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to transform this one. And even though it's in inches, I can go 2.4 millimeters. And I can make it just a little bit smaller like that. As for the width of it, it really depends on the width of your wing. So we're doing the back piece here. Now this one's going to be tricky, and I think I'm actually going to do it a different way. So this one's going to be tricky because the slot, the hole, is smaller than the width of the wing's going to be, because this piece is going to come in and it'll be really floppy in the back. So what we're actually going to do with this piece is we're going to kind of fudge it, and we're going to have it cut all the way through that back tail surface, which means I'm probably going to want to get rid of this piece right here. So we're going to have it go all the way through the back tail surface like this. So then this piece will just slide in, just like that, and will come to rest kind of where it's supposed to be. So let's grab our other wing, our big wing size, and I'm going to guess, I'm going to make this again, the height's going to be 2.4 millimeters, and my width, I can just make it 0.7 inches, fine, because I'm going to go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. So it's hard to tell on the schematic where the wing's going to be, because you can see it kind of comes up right here. The wing sort of flips upwards on the airplane in real life. So I could just throw it really wherever I want at this point. Now the width, this one will be nice and easy, which is why I chose this aircraft. The width, let's turn off our schematic for a second. The width is going to be exactly the same as the wing itself. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put this piece right against it, and I'm going to bring this one down like that. So that gives me the width of my wings. So I'll need to come put that in here somewhere. Now this is where we try to guesstimate, bringing the schematic back one more time. I'd say my wings, looks like the root of my wing is somewhere right around here. Right under the cockpit. I don't want to get too close, whoops. I don't want to get too close to this line down here. So this is pretty small. And that'll be the weak spot right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lift this up just a little bit and forward just a little bit. Won't look like the real plane, but that's okay. So now my height is right for my materials. My width of my box is right for the wing itself. I can get rid of this middle point here. Just put a middle line. And you know what? I'm actually going to keep that line. And then my width is right for the tail back here. Ah, now here's the tail. This one's going to be a little different. So this is your second sliding method. The first one just allows you to slide a wing through. It'll stop. You need to do a little wood glue, or if you're using cardboard, it should just work out fine. This one's going to need a little slot joint in it. So what we have here is this piece. We know this is where we want it to come in. It has to come in through here, so we can't move this side. But we have to move this side a little bit, and we're going to make it actually smaller. And here's why. This is going to be, I think they call it like a half lap. And so here's how a half lap works. We're going to take this one here. I'm actually going to make a copy of this. We're going to use that again. I'm going to take this piece here, and I'm going to divide with Pathfinder. I'm going to right click. I'm going to ungroup. Come in here, delete those, and I'll get this nice slot right here. Here's the trick though. Let's line this one up with this one. And then I'm going to show you, so this will slide in. We want it to stop right about there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece here, I'm going to bring this up a little bit, out so there's an overlap. And this is the kind of part that kind of doesn't make sense until you see it. I'm going to go ahead and divide that again. I'm going to right click, I'm going to ungroup. I'm going to delete that piece here. And this should be able to fit in here. And slide all the way and click right there, right where I want this wing to end off. At this point, what you're going to do is you're going to organize your wings. Everything looks pretty good at this point. And what's the last thing we're going to do? I can almost hear you all saying it right now. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to set it to our red cut color. Grab everything here. Change our color to red. That's the proper red right there. And then we're going to change our stroke to 0.001. And that should cut out, and that should work. That's the demo for the day. Make sure to submit that as soon as you are done. Good luck.